on live now. Jared will join whenever. Hey, everybody, welcome to the THS Discourse. We are live. Share with your friends, family, and loved ones. We're going to be talking about, I don't know if it's a divisive movie because on my Facebook timeline, everyone says they love this movie. I don't know about how you guys feel, especially Seth, who just got to see it. Am I glitching? Am I good? Can everybody hear me? Okay. I'm not surprised. So anyway, we're talking about The Witch this evening, and it's a good movie. I'm going to step out for a few minutes and finish dinner with the kids, but I'm going to hand it over to Nate if that's okay. And, well, I'll wait till Jared gets here. But really excited to hear what Seth has to say about it. So I'm going to eat fast because he's just now saw the movie. What, last night was it?
Yeah, I feel like last night. Yeah, I feel like I need to see it again. It's like one of those movies where I know that I'll pick up more and more of what's going on when I watch it more.
The best way I can describe it, and this is kind of one of my favorite things about some movies, it's almost like a descent into madness throughout the entire movie. It gets more and more crazy. I watched it again last night, and the more I watch it, the more I love it. In my opinion, it gets better every time I watch it. I just dug in, turned the lights off. This is the first time I think I've done that. Just turned the lights off, dug in, and sat down, and just you get lost in the scenery in this movie, and the production design is so awesome. I don't know if Jared's even coming now. What's going on with Jared? Anybody know what's going on with Jared? No,
but he was replying to the chat.
Yeah, which is rare. So, how you guys doing tonight? You guys doing okay tonight?
I'm doing okay.
Nate, how about you, man? You look solemn.
Yeah, I'm getting texts. So, yeah.
Are they sad texts?
No, it's about the shoot this weekend.
Ah, Nate's got a movie. No, any witches in that movie?
Yes, actually, yes.
Really? The more and more I hear about your movie, the more and more I get excited. I need to quell my excitement because, I only care about your movies and Scream Team releasing, apparently. So, Nate, you guys ready to take over for a few? I'm going to finish my food real fast, and I'll be right back in maybe 10 minutes tops. Is that cool?
That's cool.
I was trying to wait for Jared, but he's being a butt nugget. When he joins, tell him to text me. I'll run in here and add him real fast, okay?
Okay.
Is that cool? All right. I'm going to turn my camera off and give you guys the show, and I'll be back.
All right. Sorry, we got a lot of stuff going on today. Life happened. Shit. I got texts here. But we're live. So I tell you what, Seth, since you've just seen it yesterday, right?
Yep.
So give me your impression, and I'll answer this text.
Okay. It after the movie was done, it took a bit for me to process it still, because I wasn't quite sure about it. I liked it. I think it is definitely a good movie. One of the things I love about it is the authenticity of it. They really tried to, not only with the set design, but also with the dialogue. They tried to make it seem as authentic as possible, which wouldn't happen in a lot of other movies. Like, for example, like Dracula Untold, also like in the 1500s, but everyone speaks like modern English and everyone looks all bland still. This was very authentic, and the actors did a really good job. And that scene with the baby in the beginning, that was a very disturbing moment.
Yeah.
But yeah.
For what I understand, like all the dialogue came straight from journals that he found and read, because he's like, apparently Robert Eggers, who's the writer director, was obsessed with the Puritans growing up. He lived in New England, and he there are those types of houses and things are all over the place that you stumble upon. People live there, so he's had this fascination with it forever, and that's where his interests are. There's Jared.
Hello.
Hello.
Are we live?
We're live.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. So he said that everybody he pulled from all these journals. So everything you're reading is how they spoke. And so basically, those Puritans, they were in love with language and words and reading the Bible in English, and so that's why they spoke so elegantly, because that's how they wanted to speak, as the Bible was written and translated. So yeah, like I said, it's the movie is so authentic to the where, like, there are things he couldn't do, but like historians have like watched the movie and go, wow, like your attention to detail. He even admits though, like, oh, well, that's colonial, or this is off, or they wouldn't have had that type of dog, those things like that. Like he's admitted, and he also gave into like some of the classic witch stuff is more colonial than at that time, but he broke some rules. But as you said, probably one of the most accurate movies capturing the 1630s or 1600s that I
had to turn on the subtitles pretty early on in the movie just so I could understand. Because like, especially the father, his voice was very like thick and heavy. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
That guy. I was glad to see this movie because I knew that guy as Finch. I think his name was Finch on The Office, on the original Office. And like, if people didn't watch the British version of The Office, he was like the David Cockner character on the American version. He was like the asshole, chauvinistic pig jerk character. So that's what I knew of him. So to see him, but apparently this is more him than anything, because this guy's like Shakespearean actor. He teaches children Shakespeare, how to do Shakespeare over there, and so this was more of his wheelhouse. But like, I knew him as this asshole, sexist pig guy from The Office, pretty much. And I mean, I think he was on Game of Thrones. I know Kate Dickie, who plays the mother, she's a big part of Game of Thrones.
Definitely on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, definitely she was. Very memorable character on Game of Thrones. But you have any more further thoughts? Or Jared, since you joined us, what are your thoughts on The Witch?
After watching it, I literally watched it for the second time last week, and I kind of piggybacked in listening to what Seth was saying. Even if it's not a horror movie, just for being a period piece, it is very effective film. Like, even if you take everything out of it that's horror related, witch related, it's still a very effective horror piece. One of the things that I questioned at the very beginning, I was like, how religious do you have to be for a bunch of Puritans to kick you out of your commune? Like, seriously. Like, they got kicked out of England for being too religious.
I was trying to do a little homework on that, because apparently there were two groups, like they were called the Separatists, and I think that's what he is, to the point where they say he probably was like criticizing that plantation and those people for because he wanted to live by the word, like, strictly, and they weren't. So
verbatim, yeah.
Yeah, so he left, and that's what's interesting about the movie is there are so many ways to interpret the film, because they're really almost like there's three ways to really watch it. There's probably more than that, but the straightaway version that people probably see is these people go this, like, they excommunicated from their plantation, start their own home. The baby gets kidnapped. This witch kidnaps the baby, kills off the kids one by one, and corrupts the daughter, and Thomason, and she becomes a witch and kills them, and end of story. The devil manipulates her, whatever. But the other way to look at it is the realistic way is that this girl's pushed to madness because of all the accusations and pressure that she's feeling. Her mom hates her. You know, she can't get anything from her mom. Like, they're just the stresses and the paranoia, but also the fungus that grows on the corn that's there. If you ever notice, like the corn keeps getting blacker and blacker that's hanging around the house. And I think there's been, I don't know everything about the Salem witch trials, but I've heard that a lot of what happened with the hallucinations and paranoia and everything was attributed to this fungus that would grow on like some of the food that would cause that. And a lot of people think that that's what kind of caused things like that, people to hallucinate and go nuts and see things or believe things. Apparently this fungus that grows on them can create that stuff. But the other way to look at the film, which is probably more accurate, it goes into what you're saying, which is scary, about how religious do you have to be. That the film is actually, because the subtitle is A New England Folk Tale. And so there's a question of, well, who's telling this story? Are we seeing this for real, or are we being told the story by the Puritans? Is this what they told their people to keep them from leaving the church, to keep them from not doing this? If you leave us, this is what's going to happen. If you go into the woods, this is what's going to happen. This is what they were telling. So because as soon as they leave, I mean, shit just goes bad. Like the baby gets kidnapped right away. The food won't grow. The food's rotten. There's a witch. So a concept is this the story that the Puritans have told others generation after generation to keep them from disobeying, you know, like religions, you know, keep in line, don't disobey us, do what we say. If you leave us, this is what's going to happen. Your whole family's going to die and get murdered by the evil in the woods. The devil's going to corrupt your family and kill you. And it's also like at that time, they believe, that's the thing. Like I heard some people didn't think this movie was that scary, but it's scary for the 1600s because these people believed that witches existed, that the devil existed. Like witchcraft was just normal. There was no line between fantasy and reality. That was real. And so if you were a Puritan and you go to that house and you find all that livestock dead and all the family dead, as a Puritan, what are you going to believe happened? You know, you're going to believe that fucking witchcraft, devil, something, you know, did this to them. And I heard someone say that the kids who grew up, because this is about 60 years before the Salem witch trials in the same area. Yeah. The Puritans who were hearing this tale told to them as children were the ones who grew up to commit the Salem witch trials because that's what they believed. Like how in fear are you to go to that measure, that mob mentality of which we see today also, you know. Yeah. All predicated on lies and paranoia. Yeah. Yep. And so that's
interesting. I like that. Yeah, I like that theory.
So that's the thing. Like the movie has so many possibilities to how to interpret it, and Robert puts all those possibilities in there. Like there's even scenes where you see the corn by the part where William walks out at the end right before getting gored by the goat. The corn on the house is black. It's just completely rotten and fungus all over it. So
there's definitely some different things you can look into this movie for sure. I kind of lean to the second idea you had, Nate, where she's feeling pressured the entire time by her stance in the family. She's feeling pressured by her mother to step up and be a leader in the family. And she's, you know, obviously not adored by her mother. She loves all the babies and stuff. But at the same time, there's like little ticks about her, how she remembers how beautiful England was, where she has this whole scene where I remember walls with windows.
Yeah. We had glass. Yeah.
We had glass.
With brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was talking with my girlfriend about that, and she brought that up, and that's a good point, because her mother immediately attacked her when her silver cup went missing, because she liked the fancy looking things. You know, for anybody that hasn't seen the movie, like, it's not a big spoiler, but the dad stole the cup to sell it to make some stuff and traps and stuff to, capture food. But there's a lot of little things that I think push her towards the edge. Like, I don't think she was evil, like, at all during, the first part of the movie. Like, yeah, she fucked with her little brother and sister a couple of times, but like, I've heard other conversations where she was evil all the time. Like, you just didn't know it, and like, she was the witch all the time. But like, no, in my opinion, I think she kind of like almost gave up towards the end, and like, nobody believed her in what she was trying to, make known. And by the time Black Phillip killed her dad, like, there's nothing left to do. Like, whatever you got, I'll do it.
Yeah, well, I mean, even after that, like, her mom was still accusing her of being responsible for everything, and kind of forced her to kill her own mother. Yeah. It was a kill or be killed situation. Like, she was innocent throughout the entire movie, in my opinion, and then she was just kind of like put in a corner, pressured to succumb to being what everyone was accusing her of being.
Yeah. I don't think she was evil at all, and I don't. I think, like you said, like, there's so many. There's parallel. There's a lot of fairy tales in the movie where you could look at Thomasin as Cinderella. I mean, she really is the put upon daughter of. She's constantly being shit on and attacked. Like, why are the kids loose? Why aren't you controlling the kids? Why didn't you get your dad the water? Why didn't you? Like, it's constantly, you aren't doing enough. And she's like, what the fuck else do I have to do? Go down there and clean this. Go do like, she's constantly being put upon and treated like shit. And she just, like, begs her mother, can't you look on me with favor at all? Like, please love me. She constantly is begging for love and an acknowledgement of all she's doing. And she does. She becomes almost the parent, or she sees that she needs to take the role of the parent because her mother's grieving and just crying all damn day and not taking care of the twins. Her dad's a failure at everything. He can't grow, he can't farm, he can't hunt. They're going to starve to death. So and she knows this, so she's got this pressure of, trying to deal with all that, but like, she can't win. Like, every step, her father, her mother is just pounding on her, and like, the twins, the little Mercy is just like, you're a fucking witch, you're the witch of the woods, you're evil.
They are such brats.
Oh my God. And they're the ones who are actually, like, talking to Black Phillip and whispering and singing songs about Black Phillip, and like, they're the ones who are the witches, like, Mercy's obviously the one, if anyone, who's talking to Satan, but they don't accuse her. They accuse Thomasin. And like you said, Thomasin, by the end of it, is like, what do I do? And her mother's literally trying to kill her, which also goes into going back to what the Puritans would have made up. Everyone knows in the Bible, there's no one worse in the Bible than women. Women are the evil. Eve and the Garden of Eden, they left the garden. The poison apple that Caleb spits up. The whole apple tree. I saw an apple tree in the wood.
That was him giving his confession, almost.
Yeah.
He spit up the apple because he lied to his mother.
Yeah.
That's what I got of it. I mean, other people might get something different out of it. But
Yeah.
he lied to his mother to cover his dad's ass about the apple tree in the valley,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and he spits up the apple. But it could get even deeper than that. That's true.
There's so much that could be said about that. And then that scene alone where Caleb is the most innocent person in the whole film in many ways. He's also probably the only one who gives a shit about his sister, or actually is kind to her.
That's a good
To the point where, like, once they hear mom and dad talking about sending Thomason away, he decides he wants to go find food or do something to be able to, so they won't send her away. He's going to go try to fix it in the middle of the night, and she goes along with him. But yeah, there's just so much to unfold there. But like her being, another thing that she has a problem with her mother is her mother has just lost a child, which of course is going to destroy anybody. But also Thomason, I imagine she says something, I don't remember how she puts it, but I'm imagining that Thomason has had her period and has entered womanhood. And for that, she's now a threat because Kate's only worth is her mother being a mother. And now Thomason is that age. And she even says at the end where she's trying to kill her is like, you were seducing Caleb and your father. You're a whore. You're a slut.
Mm-hmm.
When she's attacking her. So she sees Thomason as a threat to her position of mother and woman of the house. And that's the other part why she wants her gone and is attacking her. So it's really a sad story of this family breakdown and this poor young girl who is the victim who's pushed to that. And like you said, at the end of the movie, what can she do? She's a young girl without a family in the wilderness with nothing to eat, nothing. She's nothing. And so when Black Phillip comes and offers her gifts and whatever she wants, would you like to live deliciously? Yeah, let's do it. Where do I sign? You know, it's like, so, but it could go that way, or again, what the Puritans would do, they would paint this young girl, this sexual young girl, as the evil character in the story, and the reason all this happens, and don't do what they did because this is what will happen to you. Yeah, I remember. This is one of those movies that is usually just shit on, like all other really good movies that are covered out.
Well, this movie did come out right around the time where all these people were talking about post-horror.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck does that even mean? It's
slow, boring, artsy, fartsy, like that, you know.
I know Ari Aster got thrown into that too, and there was a couple other movies.
Jordan Peele and Robert and Ari are kind of like those two, I think, who are kind of leading the way in that, because these two guys, they're very much alike. They're very good friends, and they're both very big like Bergman fans. Like, there's a lot of Bergman influence on this film as well as in Ari's movies. And I know this movie had a big, The Shining had a big influence on this movie and on both of those filmmakers. Like, you could even look at it like, is Thomason kind of Jack Torrance, like constantly slowly being driven mad by, or isolated. You know, she's isolated from her family, and
I kind of got that Shining impression with like the limited amount of score. You know, just like long drawn out noises and yeah.
Going back to the fairy tale thing, you also have Snow White with the poison apple. You have Hansel and Gretel.
I was gonna say Hansel and Gretel, yeah, for sure.
And you have I know there's another one. I think I wrote it in my notes. Little Red Riding Hood, is they say the wolf. They make up again. how do we explain the unexplained? And so they try to say, well, what took the baby? Oh, it's not a witch. A wolf took the baby. It was a witch. No, it was a wolf. We've all agreed it was the wolf that took it. And even the witch is dressed like kind of like Red Riding Hood with her red cloak.
Mhm.
Of course, red being the symbol of kind of a sexual thing. Caleb being, that's another thing I heard someone mention is like the family represents the 7 deadly sins. Is like Caleb is lust. He's lusting after his sister. He's lusting after the witch. That's what his downfall is. William's sin is pride. His pride is what gets him in all of this. He keeps failing at this stuff. That's one interesting thing is every time he fails at something, what do we see him do after he fails? He's chopping wood. Like that's the only thing he can do is chop wood. And that's what he ends up being buried by that pile of wood that falls on him. That's what kills him. Like his manhood, his pride kills him there.
What's up, guys? What I missed?
What up?
I'm sorry again. Dealing with some stuff. How's it going? Sounds like some good conversation going on.
Yeah, we'll talk about William, and I like William. I really love his performance in the film, and this is a guy who chose to leave out of pride to do things on his own, and he keeps failing at every corner, and he's trying so hard, and his wife actually gives him shit about it to the point where at the end he's like, what do I need to do? What do I have to do? Okay, I will go back. I will do this. I will do whatever you need. What can I do to make you happy? She's like, I want to go back to England. He's trying so hard, and he hides things from her out of fear of her, and he knows he's a failure to the point where at the end of the movie there's that great scene where he's begging to God and it confesses that he is prideful and it's just all happening because of him, and please save my children, please save us. And he's eating dirt and all, it's really intense scene of this. Because as a father, as a man of the house, that's kind of like you take on that role just because that's what we've been taught. What do I have to do to take care of my family and
supply and support?
And that's so to constantly have failure and to constantly fail and to have your wife look at you the way she's looking at him and talk to him. She's
nasty to him.
She is really nasty to him. But then at the same time, she confesses, she realizes, she even says, I'm becoming Job's wife, who, of course, in the Bible, was like, she didn't agree with Job's faith. Even all these horrible things were happening to Job with the boils and all this stuff. And, she didn't understand how he could still have faith in God. And she wasn't up to again, painting women as the bad character, the ugly, evil, selfish character that the Bible often does. So yeah, he's got a hard road, but at the same time, he throws his daughter under the bus several times.
Mm-hmm.
He's cowardly. He's cowardly throughout the entire movie.
Yes, coward, exactly. I love when Thomason lets him have it. When she just tells him, you're a fucking hypocrite. You can't do anything. You can't farm. You can't. All you can do is chop wood.
That's a good scene.
Yeah.
How did you feel whenever he gets gutted by Black Phillip? That scene. I mean, he walks outside. He sees what happened. The look on his face is priceless, and all of a sudden he gets hit.
Yeah, he doesn't know what happens, and then all of a sudden,
I thought that was a really cool scene, not just because of what happens to him, but in general, seeing the destruction of the whatever that shed is, and then all of a sudden he gets nailed out of nowhere twice. I thought that was pretty good. I mean, I thought he was a good character because he was super flawed. Excuse me. Super flawed, and he was but yeah, you're right. At the same time, he was. I didn't think about that. He was really throwing them under the bus, especially Thomason.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was fucking phenomenal, by the way. That actress.
Oh, Anya Taylor-Joy
Yeah.
is so good, and she's become like. I mean, the Queen's Gambit was one of the best things I saw last year.
I need to watch that now because I found out she's in. I was like, I can't get it's she's having the same effect on me that what's her name
Florence Pugh.
No, God, I can't think of her name. Elrond's niece.
Whose?
Elrond from Lord of the Rings. God, I can't think of her name.
I got nothing on that.
From the Babysitter.
Oh, Weaving, Samara Weaving.
Yeah, Samara Weaving. Yeah, because I saw her once, and I was like, I need to watch more with her. Because after watching The Witch last night, I was like, what else is she in? Because I love
the New Mutants, and
she's in that.
She's in that. She's in what's that Split movie? The one with the glass.
James McAvoy.
And Emma, I haven't seen Emma yet, but I hear that's really good. But yeah, she's just phenomenal. And apparently, she was the first audition tape that he saw, and he was just blown away by her. And he said that she's just so strong. And now we're going to talk about what about the son's death scene? That's an incredible. Fuck yes, it is.
Well, not even just the like. He's gone. He's missing. They don't have the horse. They don't have the gun. What are they going to do? And he shows back up.
Dog's dead. Yeah,
Dog's dead. Yeah. I mean, everything leading up to that point, and his death was. God. So, what did you think of his death? It rhymes.
It matches up to any good possession movie. Like it just.
Yeah. Then he fucking spits out the apple.
Yes.
Like fuck, it's like Jesus.
That part where it's that one shot and it's just one take, and he's like talking about Jesus cover me with kisses, and that last moment. It's such a powerful scene, and this little kid performing it, and apparently like they really coached them and really rehearsed that scene, and again the guy that plays William, the actor, I need to get his name because I'm kicking myself. I don't remember his name. It's like
it's. Hold on one second. I just had it up.
I wrote it down.
Ralph Ineson.
Ralph is.
Dude, he was an amazing actor in my opinion too. They're all
incredible. Yeah. Even the little girl who plays Mercy is phenomenal. But like,
she's the little shit.
Yeah, she is such a little clickety clack. I know it, but like Ralph apparently, like I said earlier, he teaches kids Shakespeare, and he coached Harvey, the kid that plays Caleb, to have muscle control, to be able to do everything he's doing. Is they needed to really work on it to get it right, and it's. I remember sitting in the theater watching that, and just like I was floored at how good that scene is and how upsetting it is. Mm-hmm. And beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially he goes into that rant, like you were talking about, covering him kisses and stuff, and it was almost like, it felt creepy and a little uplifting at the same time, and then, it's like, fuck. It's a great scene.
And apparently all that dialogue was straight from some journal. It was written that he found, so, like, it wasn't, he didn't write that. It was actually from something at that time. So it's
somebody pleading on their deathbed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's chilling.
Phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, earlier in the show before I dipped out to have finished dinner with my kids, Seth was talking about needing to watch it for a second time. I agree, man. This is one that you really gotta like maybe 2 or 3 times watch it and kind of just soak into everything about the movie. I mean, the first time I saw it, again, this was a bad experience. I was in a theater. There were girls that were there that were probably 17, 18 years old, probably thought they were going in to see some, splatterfest horror movie with witches and magic and, what I'm saying? Like, and then all they did was giggle and laugh and talk the whole time. Took me right out of it. So, like, I was like, I don't know if I can like this movie or not. It seems like it's really boring. And then finally I saw it again. I just bought it on Blu-ray just because, and I was glad I did because really enjoyed it the second go around. And then, as I said, the second and third, and this was the fourth time I think I'd seen it. And man, it gets better every time, I think, with every viewing.
Yeah, my first viewing was not great because it was one of those things where, you know, I had a babysitter, but it was like a late thing. We went to dinner first. So we were, and I don't know why I was really tired. I think I'd worked a lot the day before. So we went to see it at like a late showing. And by the time I sat down, got through the trailers, I was already starting to feel tired. And of course, it's a slow, quiet movie. Yep. And I remember just being really, really sleepy the whole time and not really relishing it because of that. But my wife loved it. She said, I love this. So I wanted to see it again. And when I saw it, like you said, every time I watch it, I like it more. I seem to the point where I've gotten to where this is one of the best horror films ever made.
Not even just horror films, in my opinion. It's got to be right up there with one of the best ever made. I mean, from the acting aspect, the cinematography, I mean, it's so damn. I was watching last night. I was like, this is more than a horror movie. You know, it's not just a horror movie. I feel shamed in a way, like William Peter Blatty and what's his name, the director, Friedkin. They don't look at The Exorcist as a horror movie, and I can understand it watching The Witch because. Yeah. I mean, there's really not much horrific until the son, Caleb, meets the witch in the woods, and there's a lot of fun. There's so much going on in this movie that it's more than just a horror movie, in my opinion. Just like Jaws, I think another thing. Movie that so much going on that it's more than just a horror movie.
I don't think he looked at it as a horror film. I think, and the actor said that they played it like it was real, like reality, like this was real, like a drama. But yeah, I agree. I think it's. And to think this is his debut film. This is the first film from Robert Eggers.
Oh, I didn't know that. Is it right?
Yes.
God, he knocked it out of the park. How do you follow that up?
He did some shorts.
With The Lighthouse.
The Lighthouse.
Oh, he did The Lighthouse too? I mean, I still haven't seen The Lighthouse. Admittedly,
he did The Lighthouse.
We'll do a Lighthouse.
He had done shorts, but his first film was.
So you're telling me his first feature, he knocked it out of the park.
This is his first feature. He was a production designer. So he's artistic. He's an artist. He did a lot of drawings. So that part was really, important to him. And he spent 5 years trying to get this made. So in that time, he was fine-tuning it. It was something just rushed out,
Luke hit the nail on the head. Religion can be very scary even back then.
Especially back then.
They truly believed that the devil and witchcraft was real.
Think about that. Think about the Salem witch trials, man. This is something I watched it last night. No lights on, no outside disturbances, and that made for the perfect viewing experience of this movie. Is watching it in the dark, got the soundbar cranked up, with all the good, you can hear shit in the background. You know how it is. That's the way to do it. Absolutely. And
it's immersive because of that, like the genuine, like they were talking on the Q&A about how you could smell the movie. Like he tried to approach it like sense memory, like I experienced this. And he said you could smell how, because they said, he goes, I didn't realize how important dung was to those people. They used it all. They saved their urine. They even had human feces, and they used that stuff. And a historian was on the Q&A. If anybody hasn't watched the Q&A, it's really good because they have a couple of historians on there talking about the accuracy. And they said, he goes, the thing I tell my students is if you went back to that time, you wouldn't be able to take it because you wouldn't be able to handle the smell, the stench of how bad it smelled because they use shit for everything, for their houses and the fertilizers and everything. They still do.
Not even just that, just hygiene is not a thing.
Yeah,
really. I mean, like he when he gets knocked over and Thomason has to take his shirt off and all that stuff, and it's like he probably already stinks. Why is he getting upset about a little bit of dirt on his clothes? God,
I was gonna say it's wintertime. You're not gonna be bathing in at least till early spring.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I don't get to go to the bath until April 21st. Until This made me want to go back, and I mean, every time I watch this movie because of my first reaction, and a lot of it had to do with the theatrical experience, but it makes me want to go back and watch movies that I kind of like. Were like, the first time I saw them. Like, I'd like to do a show on the Neon Demon, so I can give that another shot and then talk about it afterwards. I know Jared's very, very partial to that movie. Seth, have you seen that one?
No.
Did I derail you guys by coming back? I'll leave.
Nope.
I didn't have much to say anyway.
Well, I missed what you said, but did you like it, or is it just one of those that you are on the fence and you gotta definitely see it a second time? Like, I know.
No, I liked it. I thought it was a really well put together movie.
Yeah.
It was just like the experience of it after. I was thinking about it after the movie was done and trying to process and just trying to figure out what was what. I don't know. Maybe it was just the booze, but I had a little difficulty trying to figure out, especially like what the deal was with the twins and all that. But I liked it. I like I said earlier, I was really impressed by the authenticity of it all.
Mhm.
Even if I had to have the subtitles on, I thought that was great. You don't see that happen too often. I mean, there's period piece movies that get released all the time that, it's modern in how people speak and how people look and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
like Tom Cruise and Valkyrie. But yeah, I it's in a way, especially with the way they speak. I think that took some people out of it, but it was very jarring to hear them speak that way.
Old English, baby.
Yeah, exactly. It was very jarring to hear that the first time, and then trying to catch everything they were saying. And have you guys talked about the last like 15 minutes or so with Black Phillip and?
Not really.
We kind of touched on the part where you said he shanked him, but yeah, that's about it for that part.
From the death of Caleb to the end, it's just some of the best filmmaking I think I've seen. I mean,
I'm gonna be lighthearted for a second, but the lady that played the mom in this movie, I think she got karma for playing the character in Game of Thrones in this movie.
The breastfeeding.
And for people who know that character, yes.
Yeah. Breastfeeding a 10-year-old or whatever. Yeah. I was watching it last night. I was like, where do I know her from? Where do I know her from? And then after the movie, I looked it up. I was like, oh my God, that's the crazy sister, Caitlyn's sister, the crazy one.
I think
The Lady of the Veil.
Whatever.
The Lady of the Veil.
Yeah, she was fucking nuts. So she could play nuts because she did really well too. She really good. I mean, this was just a great cast too.
That part where she attacks Thomason at the end, they said the crew and everybody was like terrified of her because she was like so genuine in her insanity attacking her. And it's a sad scene that when she attacked her. I mean, all Thomason wanted was approval and love from her mother.
Yeah. And
even as she stabs her, she says, "I love you."
Didn't one of the kids say that the mom? I think it was the Mercy. Didn't she say that the mom doesn't like you anywhere?
Yeah, mom. That's why mom hates you.
Yeah.
Which is a great moment too. That was like when
Yeah.
when she pulls Caleb and holds him and hugs him and comforts him.
After he's checking out her boobs, yeah.
Yeah, he checked out her boobs at the river. That happened, and she got blamed for that.
She's a witch.
Like so when she, you're talking about like when she goes to talk to Black Phillip. And
before we get to Black Phillip, though, I want to say something about this. I noticed last night when I was watching, she hits her mom with that was it cleaver? What was that? I can't remember. She hits her.
Is that what that's usually like what they was cutting the corn with?
That might be what it was. Yeah, I don't remember what the tool was, but she hits her with it, and her mom's stunned, and then
it's like a little mini scythe.
The look on her face before she kills her. Like you can almost see her thinking about what to do next, and I really like that scene. Crazy bitch had it coming.
Yeah, yes, it felt like I was there, so immersive in how it is constructed. And then the thing is, it's not. This movie doesn't use. and that's probably why, like, so I heard a lot of people say it wasn't scary and blah 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 blah. It's like it's not meant to scare people in 2020. First of all, there are no jump scares. It doesn't use any of those tropes. It doesn't do any of that stuff. Its intention was to scare Puritans. Like, this is a 1600s nightmare. Like, this would be, again, like I was saying, this would be the horror story that the Puritans would tell each other as a cautionary tale to not disobey us, not to leave our walls, not to go into the woods. You know, if you go in the woods, the witch is there. The wolf's going to be there. But it's also because people say, well, why didn't they go search for the baby more? Or why didn't they go search for? Well, like, I think even Kate says it, like, if William were to go in the woods and something were to happen to him, then they would die because he's the provider. He's the caretaker of the family. So they can't afford to lose him.
He just played it off as if it was a wolf. Well, the wolf took it, it's whatever.
Yeah.
I guess that was just customary back then. The wolf took the child. I gotta get a bottle of water. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's the part where when they're talking in bed about Kate, he accuses her of putting things before, like the cup, like this kind of that where he's kind of like I guess an optimist of, okay, yeah, we've lost a child, but we still have 4 children, and that at that time that was pretty good.
Yes,
people lost children. They lost
before 3 years old, even.
Yeah, so he looks at it as God has graced us with what we have, and she's like, well, this is what we don't have, and you just want your cup, and you want nice things, and so he's appreciative of what God has given him. Again, like the Job thing, not what God has taken from me, but what I have because of God, kind of thing. So that's where you get that conflict of maybe she and Thomason were pretty pampered in England, and they had it really well.
Well, especially the mother, she wanted to go back so bad. They obviously their life was tons better. They're living off the land, they're isolated from everyone else.
Exactly.
And that's a big part of the movie, in my opinion, is isolation.
Yeah. And Thomason is the most lonely because no one but Caleb is kind to her.
Yeah.
Since we touched back on it, I thought that was an interesting theme because, obviously they took a huge jump coming to the New World being Puritans and, getting kicked out of England. But, like, you can really see from their side, like, I don't want to be here. Like, it's fucking bleak and muddy.
And there's the uncertainty there, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Are we going to be able to eat? Are we going to be able to keep warm? It's, yeah.
This is something I found in the trivia that, I think Eggers talked about it, that Thomason was loosely based on Elizabeth Knapp, the Groton witch. This is just before Salem witch trials. So it's between when this happens and when the Salem witch trials happen. This girl, 16 years old, and she was apparently possessed. She did all this crazy behavior, all these things we know of, possession. She was 16. Apparently, she said she was attacked by Satan to the point where she gave in and invited him into her bed, and she signed his book and became a witch, basically. And so, but oddly enough, her father, I think, was a preacher, a reverend, and tried to scientifically solve her case and be level-headed about it. And she wasn't executed or killed or anything. She actually married and lived a long life, apparently. But she was one of the inspirations for Thomas.
I'll have to look her up because that does sound very interesting. I didn't get to dive too much into the behind the scenes, but that Q&A really does sound interesting.
Yeah,
I'd like to-
it's got Anya, Robert, and 2 or 3 historians because they do it in Salem. So there's Salem witch trial like experts, and then people who are experts on
That's fucking
Puritans.
cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. Is that on the DVD or the Blu-ray?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's still in the Blu-ray play. Actually, I take it back. I ended up watching The Fly last night after I was done, the original. I got that. Well, Screen Factory had that big sale over in October, and they sold out of the Fly box set, and I really wanted that so bad. And I finally got it on Amazon, and it's just been sitting here for like 3 months. I'm like, I need it so bad, never watched it. So I was like, I need to start watching it.
Help me.
Yeah, that Fly, not the 86 version. But anyway, let's talk about Black Phillip.
That dude's a dick, yo.
That whole last scene from the moment that Black Phillip charges on William to the very end credits is so good. There's so much going on in the last few minutes. It's worth like people. I think I like slow burns. I'm a slow burn person. Like the House of the Devil. That's one of my favorite movies in the last 20 years. Horror movies, maybe in general. Because I just love how slow and then it kind of gut punches you. I like saying kick you in the nuts, but I'm trying to be nice. But it kicks you right in the nuts. And then it's the same thing with this. It's like you get this kind of horrific thing that happens to Jacob. And then the father walks out, sees that destruction, and then you get kicked in the nuts by Black Phillip, just like he got, horns to the side. And just from there, I mean, even his struggle with Black Phillip. And then one of my favorite parts about that is when he gets knocked into the pile of lumber, the wood that's all he can do is chop wood, and he gets knocked right into that big bunk of lumber or whatever it was. Such a really good moment. I'm not Ray Skywalker.
You guys,
I like the Innkeepers. Sorry, Seth, go ahead.
Innkeepers is good. Yes.
Yeah.
Ty West.
I love Ty West. Go ahead, Seth.
I was just going to ask, now, do you think that it's possible that Black Phillip was manipulating everyone's feelings and intensifying everything to that point? Like making the mother extremely jealous of her daughter and all this other stuff. It was kind of getting everyone to that breaking point.
Well, it felt like the children, the Mercy and the other one. What was the other one's name? The boy.
I think Jonas. It was Jonas. Yeah.
I mean, they talked. They said that Black Phillip talked to them. Yeah. And I wonder if
they're also innocent too.
Right. Well, yeah, but I wonder if that was going on the whole time. I mean,
I think it was.
Yeah. You bring up a good point.
That's why they were magically gone when the third act started.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just kind of go.
Like, what do you think happened to the twins? That's an interesting question.
I assume that they're part of what we see of the. I mean, I'm guessing that they don't show it, but are they butchered with the livestock laying there in the shed? I guess they don't really show it.
Spoilers.
I heard somebody that said that they were part of the fire at the end.
But I was kind of wondering how if it was like that situation earlier with the baby. We know the witch was
right.
The blood on her.
That's true. That's right, because they go up, they fly, and they needed. I guess the mythology is that witches would use the entrails of a unbaptized baby to fly, and they would rub it on the pole. It wasn't a workroom; it was a pole.
I guess it's kind of open for interpretation what happens to the other two children, because that's what I kind of thought is that the other two, I mean, were taken to the coven or whatever that is, and towards the end, and that's leads to all that, because that scene at the very beginning of the movie when the baby's taken and you see what Seth was talking about, you see the witch scraping up the blood and putting it on herself. Yeah, it's like it kind of made me wonder going back this time, especially that I think that's where the kids ended up, and I think a lot of what do you think Black Phillip is? What do you think he is my question.
He's Satan. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like we're seeing familiars like the hare and the wolf and the crow and the goats. Well, I guess there's part of I think it's called EGOT. I think is like that Satan appears in the form of a he goat, a male goat. Like those famous paintings like Goya of Satan is painted as a black goat with the witches around and all
And I
that.
think isn't that where he get the everybody's image of Satan with the horns comes from as well?
Yeah, and then you get at the end where he comes in in a human form, and he's got the spurs and the elegant black. Apparently, like that was the most expensive costume in the movie, and you don't really see it very well. Another cool thing, which I touched on with the baby that we haven't talked about, was the idea that the baby wasn't baptized, and how they're also even more upset about that because for their beliefs, Samuel is in hell. And
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Kate screams that my baby's he's in hell, and Caleb's upset with us asking his father when they go hunting. In the beginning, is he in hell? Is he?
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
because unbaptized children would go to hell, right?
It's basic Christian religion. If you don't get baptized,
especially if the wolf got him. The whole time they're talking about a wolf got him. I don't know why that makes me laugh. They just the wolf got him. It's like, was that just common, trade back then?
Again, it goes to the people making up things to comfort themselves.
Yeah.
You got to have an explanation. So,
no,
there's no witch. It's a wolf. A wolf did it. So we can rest at night that we're not being cursed by this evil thing, which is like religions were created for that. All these people would make up explanations like, is Caleb possessed or did he have epilepsy? Is that what was going on with him when he did all that? Or is it just his fever that he had? They did the whole bloodletting, letting his blood out of his temple artery to cure him of his fever. And yeah. It's a phenomenal film. I think it gets better every time I see it. I do think it should be on any top 10 of the 21st century. I think it's one of the best ever made. Definitely one of the best films about witchcraft, up there with Rosemary's Baby and I mean, I can't think of anything. The Devils from 71. And it's just interesting that someone, and I think that's the other thing is horror has become so, as far as people today, so connected to the slasher shit, which I love slashers. I'm a slasher kid. I love slashers, but
kind of all are, yeah.
Yeah, like this.
How dare you, sir? I do not like slasher movies.
This film is more about old horror and gothic horror, and the universe.
I like that you say that. The gothic horror. It has that.
Good night, Luke. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Luke, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. Like this captures gothic horror, especially in my opinion, 50s gothic horror. It captures that even better than it did back in the day. Go ahead, Nate. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No problem. We have any questions? Anybody comments?
Not really.
Luke? No. Nobody likes this movie.
Nobody cares anymore. Let's finish talking about the end though, because the end is so fucking good, in my opinion, anyway.
Like her disrobing and the sexuality and the nudity, which is a sin, and
100,000% opposite of her Puritan lifestyle.
So let me ask you, which I don't know if this is my ignorance or not open, or if it's open for interpretation. Was she a witch, or did she just give herself to them at the end of the movie?
I think it's open to interpretation, but I think she gave herself at the end. I can see where
That's my thing.
there are ways you can see that maybe she was evil from the beginning, because when she's playing peekaboo with the baby, she's the
Mhm.
only one there.
Yep.
When she's with Caleb in the forest, she's the only one there. Like,
Yeah.
I can see either sides of the spectrum, but I like to think that she was innocent.
I think she was innocent the entire movie. She was just kind of pushed to become one of them.
Yeah.
But who knows if that was, Black Phillips.
There's a lot to interpret. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the great things about this movie, because I always have questions after I see this every single time, except for the first time. Like I said, that was one of the worst movie going experiences since I saw it. Well, it was the last really bad one, but yeah, every time I watch it since then, I've had questions, and I'm glad that I can talk to you guys to hear. Nate, you've got a lot of stuff that you found out behind the scenes. You guys have other interpretations. I do think that she just gave in, but what Jared said kind of changes my mind a little bit about all this bad stuff was happening basically under her watch. I mean,
Yeah.
was she being manipulated by Black Phillip? Was she a witch? Or was it just happenstance? There's some really good questions in there.
There's
Like I said-
definitely both sides of this table.
I
for sure.
think there was a lot of it though I think it was intentional misdirection. I think that they put her there for the sake of, because I mean I had those questions too when the movie was going on. I'm like, is there really something going on with her? And I feel like that was just a misdirection until we get to the part where it's revealed that the twins were talking to the thing. So like they were kind of building up the audience to have that little seed of doubt in their mind about if he was innocent, just for the sake of making that reveal a little bit more.
Who is this guy talking all the time? Who is this guy?
My name is Seth E. Milner.
We just need to find more movies he hasn't seen before.
Yeah.
No, there's so many, like, we, at the beginning we talked about, I think before you got on, Ray, about how the film is interpreted. Was she evil the whole time and manipulated, or was she driven mad by all of the lies and attacks? Like, she is dealing with guilt. I mean, she did lose the baby on her watch, and and everybody's really weighing in on her for that. But also, again, going back to the possibility that all this is being told by the Puritans as a cautionary urban legend tale to keep people from straying from their church and going into the woods at nights, or all those things. Not talking to Satan, not signing his book. All these kind of, because is a storyteller Thomason, or is it a story told down from generation to generation, like fairy tales are, like folk tales are, to warn people or to keep control of people? Painting the young sexual woman as the villain, or in many ways the mother's the antagonist of the movie in many ways, because she really is. She's the one driving. She's not supporting William. She's shitting all over Thomas and expecting her to carry all the weight of the family in many ways. Every time something isn't going right, Thomason, damn it! Why did the kids let the goat out? Thomason, go clean the shit. Get your dad water.
There's a lot more to that too, because I related to her. I was the oldest, in my family, and no matter what happened, Ray, what happened with your sister? Why, what happened to your brother? It's like I wasn't there. I can relate to that.
Yeah, I'm doing the laundry over here, and those little fuckers are talking to Satan in the shed.
Right.
Looking at
Just
me.
like yesterday, being a single parent, I walk out of the room and Helena's got this giant fucking straw that she makes on her own. Like, what happened here?
Yeah. And it's such a good film. And then, like, the filmmaking itself, you talked about the cinematography. I think a lot of the film was shot with old old lenses
Hmm.
from I think the 50s.
Did they pull
And
the color out a little bit?
A
Did
lot
they
of
degrade the color at all?
I don't know. I mean, I think it kind of looks that way. That's the way
Yeah.
the trees are. Like it's just
It's already really bleak setting,
yeah.
anyways.
And they shot it in Canada. They wanted to shoot it where it's supposed to be, but
Right.
you know,
It
tax
looked cool,
reasons
too.
and all that. But like I think the cinematographer said they shot a lot of it using natural available light. And then they used the ratio they used was so you could see the tallness of the trees, which I know Astor did in Hereditary to show the trees and all that. And then I do know he said that they shot the supernatural scenes like the witch flying, and I think the part where she's walking through the woods and all that, and they shot at 27 frames per second instead of 24 frames per second because that's what you do when you want to do it slow motion. You shoot at higher frames per second, so. It gets a little more dream-like, slow motion kind of imagery, more fantastical stuff. So yeah, the filmmaking is again the accuracy, the painstaking accuracy that went into this. People talk about lazy filmmaking and all that bullshit. Like this movie is not lazy
Not at all.
There's so much work that was done before this even rolled.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows 5 years. And I think it said 5 years to make it a lifetime of study and interest in Puritans and that time that Robert Eggers has been fascinated with since he was a kid. And this is the result of that. And again, it's a debut movie. And that's what we don't look at. Like, Hereditary was Ari Aster's debut movie. Get Out is Jordan Peele's debut movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like these guys are making phenomenal first films.
Yeah.
Like, even some of the guys we worship, their first films were not their best work. What
was John Carpenter's first film?
Dark Star.
How was that?
Dark Star is not his masterpiece.
It's not. It's not.
What's his masterpiece? Prince of Darkness.
Yeah.
Fallen Prison 13.
God.
So I don't think
You're not gonna goat me.
You're gonna get it. You're gonna watch it.
No.
Pretty sure Robert Eggers is gonna be forever in period pieces. Holy moly! Have you guys seen what he's up to do next?
Didn't he just finish a new one?
It's called The Northman.
It's a Viking movie,
The
right?
Viking movie set in 10th century.
Oh wow.
And it has Anya Taylor-Joy, Nicole Kidman,
Ooh.
Ethan Hawke, William Dafoe.
Wow.
Like, it's got a bunch of people in it.
That might be.
It's in post-production, but I don't think it's supposed to be a horror movie. It's supposed to be
been
kind of
shot
like
already.
a thriller or
cool.
drama.
I know before he made The Lighthouse, he was talking about one, and they were talking about remaking Nosferatu.
That is also under his.
He'd be good to do that. Yeah.
It is also under his IMDb with having Anya Taylor-Joy.
Listen, if anybody can make a boring ass movie, it's him. I'm joking. Or am I? Well, it's good to be that time. You guys want to do some final thoughts on The Witch? I think we'll start with Jared tonight.
For the most
Take
part,
that Kansas City Chiefs off fucking your head.
if anybody was listening tonight, you guys kind of got a good idea what I thought about it. It's one of those movies that, you can kind of see little things here and there every time you watch it. One of the things that bothered me the most was how Puritan they are. Like, it reminded me of a Robin Williams skit in, it was like Stand Up in 2001. It's like, how fucking bad do you have to be for the English to say, get the fuck out? But then how bad do you have to be for Puritans to say, get the fuck out? So it kind of went on to that. But this is, most people aren't going to like this movie. It's slow. Like, I get that. Like, it's a period piece. But if you stick with it, it's a really good fucking movie. And I've only seen it twice, so I really want to watch it again soon, but I would really consider this probably one of the best movies I've seen in the last 10 years. Easy.
Yeah. think I'd like to agree with that. Seth, what about you? Final thoughts?
Well, there was no jump scares, not enough CGI. It was a dumpster fire. I enjoyed it.
Blood.
What's that?
The blood was CGI.
Yeah.
So it's a dumpster fire.
Yeah, there need to be CGI witches. In a big third act. No, I enjoyed this movie. I definitely have to check it out again. But it was worth the watch. It was a good recommendation, guys.
Yeah, I think the second, third viewing you'll like it so much more each time. I think that's had that effect on me. Nate, what about you? Final thoughts?
I think I've said it about it before. Like, this is the kind of movie I wait for. Like, when I saw the trailer for this, I went, "Oh, now we're talking." Like, yes,
yeah, same.
Like, there was something about the trailer. Like, this is like one of those only come along every 10 years or so. Like, it's like the Exorcist of my time or something kind of feel. Like, where you're watching it and you're like, because I remember like the one thing that stood out. I mean, the trailer is phenomenally made. Like, it makes you want to see it. But like my favorite thing in it, like you get all these quotes that are always like scariest movie of the year, blah blah blah. But there was one quote I will never forget, and it feels like we're watching something we're not supposed to see, or something like that. And that quote went, "Oh my God, yes!" Like, this movie is so upsetting, or like anytime you deal with religion, and if you're religious, I get it. Like, there's people who watch The Exorcist and just aren't scared because they didn't grow up Christian or Catholic or anything like that. It just has they don't grow up believing in some way that the devil exists. Even though I've never been religious, I grew up in a Baptist family, so Jesus and the devil and all that stuff was part of my childhood. So when I saw The Exorcist and saw how afraid my family was of that film, or like if you mentioned The Exorcist, they were obviously rattled a bit by it, or they were afraid of that movie. And that's a powerful thing. So when you deal with something like this, where maybe we don't believe in witchcraft, and then again in the 80s, satanic panic was a real thing, and we remember devil worshippers. And I mean, we got people in this country today who think that, the liberals are all Satanists, pedophiles somehow. So the fear of Satan and Satanists and Satanism and witchcraft is still very relevant in some people's lives in some sections of the world. So a movie, to me, the movies have always bothered me the most have been films on Satan and witchcraft and ghosts and supernatural stuff, more so than psychopaths and things like that. Even though they're scary, but how can I stop Satan? I can fight my way against a guy, but how can I fight the devil? What do you do if you're facing the devil? I'm outmatched.
You can't run from the devil either.
Can't run from the devil, man.
May as well run with the devil like David Lee Roth.
So, and then you got your whole feminism thing of the witch, of a lot of people were accused of being witches because of men's fear of a powerful woman, a woman with power and strength. They say like a lot of them would execute.
You get that a lot in this movie too.
Yeah. Because she stands up to her family, and there's all these things and they also who's the one who really accuses her? It's the little girl. It's Mercy, and it's Catherine. And in history, apparently, the people who accused most people of being witches were women accusing other women. Usually, the biggest accusers were other women. So I don't know. There's so much to unravel in this movie. And it is one of those things where every time I watch it, it just gets stronger and stronger. And I do think it is a masterpiece. I know there are people out there who would think it's a piece of shit. I don't understand you. I will never understand you. I will never agree with you. Everybody.
I will say, I will say our followers and the people on my Facebook page, only one person said it was boring of our followers of the 16 or 20 comments we got, because we actually got some comments when I asked, what did you think of it? I think only one person said it was boring, and everybody else on my Facebook loved it. They raved about it. So I thought it was very divisive, but I think people actually do appreciate this, especially filmmakers.
That's cool to see. Yeah. I think it's less hated than
It follows.
Yeah, like the Ari Aster
Yeah.
stuff, and It Follows, and for some reason the Jordan Peele stuff.
I don't get that.
I don't either. Anything popular, anybody calling things masterpieces and the best and blah 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 is gonna get a target on its back.
Yeah.
And this is not a brand of horror. This isn't made for horror fans, because he's not a horror fan. He made a period piece film about the fears of people who are long gone and dead. And he made a nightmare for Puritans.
Yeah. And that was based on life back then. If you did something against God, you're a witch. You're in league with Satan. I mean, that's how it was. This could have just been a regular movie from what the title is, The Witch, a tale of New
England
folklore or something like that. And that's all it is. It's not The Witch, a horror movie from 2015 or whatever, you know. But,
yeah.
So I loved it. And like I said, any advice I have for somebody who's seen The Witch once, watch it again, then watch it again. I seriously think taking a couple of times, turn the lights out, turn the phone off. That's another problem, Nate. We've talked about this. We've all talked.
Turn the fucking phone off. Turn the fucking
phone off, because you need to get immersed into this movie. And that's where it gets you, is when you turn everything off. Yeah. The outside world's gone. You get immersed into New England in the 1400s.
Yeah, that family doesn't have a fucking cell phone. So
no, they don't.
If you do that, imagine you're there. Imagine you have no food. You can't hunt. You can't, and all these horrible things are happening.
Bad.
It smells bad. Yeah, and everybody. What's it like to be? To be accused of something that you know you didn't do.
Yeah.
To the point where it's your family who's supposed to love you. She just wanted to be loved. Like I said, the last thing she says to her mother before her mother's trying to strangle her to death is, "I love you." And she's begging her, "What do I have to do to get your love?" And it's sad. It's a sad film.
It is.
Because of what happens.
It's a great drama. You know, it really is. It's a great movie, and I hope people that think it's boring, give it another shot, because it's worth it, especially if you put down the cell phone. Last night, I got to be honest with you, I kept wanting to reach for the cell phone because I see an actor I like, and I immediately, I'm watching halfway through, and I'm like, Thomas,
who else do I haven't seen this person?
I need to find out what she's in, and then the mom, I'm like,
what has happened?
From? I waited till the movie was over. I waited till the credits rolled to pick up my phone to find out what the hell was going on. So anyway, I just wanted to thank you guys for taking over while I was out for a few, and I can't show everybody's name. I was trying to do something fun, but fuck it.
That's fun.
For Nate,
before we cut it, can we just
Jared? Come on, don't say anything about the Chiefs.
It's literally nothing about the Chiefs or football. But I welcome you to Kansas City, Buffalo. We got you.
Buffalo, kick their ass.
All right, are you done?
Okay. So I just have a quick question. Horror, not horror. Thumbs up, thumbs down for The Witch. I think it's horror. It's in my horror collection now.
It's in my horror collection too, so yeah. But again, like I said, I could take Jaws out of my horror collection now and put it anywhere else, because The Witch is the same way to me. It's one of those movies that could be anything, but I mean, that ending to me was purely terrifying and it's pure horror. So I'm sticking with horror.
It's a folk tale, which the whole purpose of folklore and folk tale was to play on your fears and to warn you and scare you of, that's what the fairy tales were about. Don't go in those woods because there's a big bad wolf. And I think all that lends itself to horror. Like just sitting around the campfire, people telling each other these stories. There's a bear out in the cave. Don't go in that cave. Don't go in that wood. There's wolves. There's so there's a witch.
There's a witch, the witch of the woods.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's Seth. What about you, man?
Well, I think there's a slippery slope there where what do we define as horror? You know what I mean? Like, does it have to have certain elements to be considered horror? I think it's totally a horror movie because it totally invokes the horror of the people of that time.
Oh yeah,
Paranoia.
It's not a conventional horror movie. It's not a cliched horror movie. It's its own story. It's its own structure. It's its own atmosphere. You know, to me, it's totally a horror movie.
Yeah.
It's got those horror elements to it. And I don't know. The stuff that people say is not horror versus what is horror. It really depends, I guess, on what you define as horror, not horror.
There's one thing that I see in a lot of horror movies that really kind of helps define horror. Alex says thank you. We love you, man. Is isolation, and this movie is Isolation 101. That's the whole family. I mean, that really is one of the more terrifying things. I should know. I've been living with it for a year. But anyway, thanks again tonight, guys, for taking over for me for a little bit, and I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope everybody who watched enjoyed the show, and tell your friends, get more people to talk with us about movies, because next week we're going to talk about Dr. Sleep, a fantastic film. I absolutely love it. I think we've all seen it, right? Jared, was that a yes or just a burp?
That was, I need to watch the director's cut.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a
3-hour director's cut.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That was one of those movies I couldn't get enough of. So we'll be back on the 26th to talk about Dr. Sleep, and I want to thank Nathan, Jared, and Seth for hanging out tonight, and anyone else who watched. Hit the subscribe button or tell people to like the Facebook page. We appreciate every single follower. Have a good night, and we'll see you next